What's going on, guys? My name's Sam. I'm from Pioneer DJ and we're here at Gear for Music with the new DJM V10. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is talking about my setup and what I've got running into the mixer. Next thing, I'm going to go in depth and show you what this mixer is really about. So we've got two CDJs to the left and the right of me running into channels 1 and 2. I have a Tauri's AS1 analog synthesizer running into channel 3. I have my delay pedal, which is running some really cool effects, running into channel 5. I have the wet signal from my onboard reverb unit into channel 4. And I also have an RMX1000 app running into the multi in and out here. And this is going to be able to affect all our units here. So let's dive into this mixer. So we've got 6 channels. Now, some of you may be thinking, when will you ever use 6 channels? Well, I've already used 5 so far on one setup. So you could think of this as 6 CDJs or 6 units, for example, vinyl, if you can mix 6 vinyl decks together at once, pretty difficult. So the way I see it, you can have channel 1 and 2 to be your audio sources. So right now is the CDJs. Channel 3 could be an extra component, whether it's a sequencer, sequence sampler, or in this case, the Tauri's AS1 analog synthesizer. Channel 4 is my wet effect. So for example, dub echo, long delay, short delay, reverb. And this is really cool because you can split up your wet and your dry. So it's not initially affecting the sound itself, it's affecting down a completely different channel. And then of course, channel 5 is running my delay pedal. So this is how I'm currently using the mixer. Now let's dive into our ins and outs on the top and what we can achieve with this and how are we achieving to send our effects completely down separate channels. So within the top, this way you select your channel input. So for example, if I was running software, so this is also Serato, Tractor and Rekordbox capabilities, I'd have channel USB A or USB B if I'm going back to back, and I can select a channel to be A or B, depending on what the DJs are doing. But it's also got your digital, your line and your phono. And then we have in orange the built-in extension 1 and extension 2 or built-in extension 1 and 2. So what this is essentially doing is in extension 1 here, I have my delay pedal. So I've selected channel 5 to be extension 1. So the initial sound, the wet sound for the delay pedal will be coming through channel 5. On channel 4, I've selected built-in. So this is the built-in sends here. And you've got 4 short delay, long delay, dub echo and reverb. So this is how we're splitting up our channels. So now, hopefully that's giving you guys more indication of why we've added 6 channels to this mixer. But of course, if you're very good at what you do, I'm sure you'll be able to mix 6 channels of audio. So let's dive a little further into the mixer and I'm going to show you some of my key features and some of the reasons why this has now become definitely my favorite mixer of all time, I think, so far. Starting from the channel list. So we've gone through the 6 channels and why we've added 6 channels and how to select which channel is doing what. Let's move further down to the brand new 4-band EQ. So the 4-band EQ is great for when you're trying to blend and mix your music together. Now, whether you're using this as a live production mixer or whether you're using this as a DJ mixer as we are now, it's key to have that much control over your mixing. So we have a low, mid-low, high-mid, and a high EQ. Now the best way to look at this is if your low is your kick drum, your mid-low or low-mid is your bass, then you have your vocals and mids, and then you have your tops. And I'm going to be doing a little mix later on, and I'm going to show you the capabilities of how to blend music together just using these EQs. Moving further down, we've also got an independent filter section here. So over the left-hand side, we've got the filter bank here with a low pass and high pass individual on and off buttons here with a really, really strong resonance pot here. So just to give you an idea of what this sounds like. If I activate a low pass, and now we try the high pass, plenty of resonance on. Really, really smooth sounding filter section. We've also got a filter section here for the master as well. If you want to amend all 6 channels, you can do that just by the master filter section. So moving further down, I'm going to leave the beat effects out till towards the end of this talk, and I'm going to jump straight to the send effect. So here's where it gets really interesting. I've previously mentioned on extension 1 we have the delay pedal, and we've sent that down channel 5. Channel 4 is running now or reverb. So if I get a signal coming through, what I do is I turn the sends up here of which channel I want to send the dry signal to your effects, your delay, your reverb, etc. And then the dry and wet will be controlled using your fader. Now this isn't the only way that you can do this. You can actually just use independently each pan pot here. If I select master mix, this then becomes your dry and your wet. I prefer to have independent control on a channel. Now the reason for this is because if you have it on a channel, you can also use your EQs, your filter section on top of, say, for example, the reverb or the extension. Now that is quite a lot of control you can have over a wet signal, and you know, you've still got your dry signal keeping the rhythm in the background. So yeah, there's two ways of using it. Now, moving over to the send channels here, you've got extension 1 and extension 2. So extension 2 isn't being used right now, but I could essentially have a wah-wah or a fuzz pedal or a reverb unit if I'd like to. But today we've just got a delay and a reverb. Let's keep this simple. Underneath here, when you're using the internal sends, we have 4 independent controls per send. So we have tone, size and feedback, time, and the master mix level. Almost as if you're looking at it sort of like an ADSR type parameters. It's a really good way of controlling your sends. You know, really, you can really dive into the send features. And I'm just going to show you now just what the sends sound like. So I'm going to send 100% wet down to channel 4, and I'm going to use a short delay, add a little feedback. I'm going to get it on a high tone, master mix at 12 o'clock, and then I'm going to get my timing roughly around the same time as what my sample is. And here's what it sounds like. Again, this is key because I've shown you some of the features here, but it's all running through its own independent channel. So if I was to switch this to, say, for example, a dub echo, let's bring the dry channel in. So we have the dub echo running through channel 4, and now I'm going to amend it by using my EQs and my filters. Add a nice low pass to it. So essentially what you're doing here is completely changing the way that mixing is currently done. You know, you're opening up a whole new channel of creating your own soundscapes with everything that's built in within the mixer. So there's the send and the extension 1. Moving forward, some of the cool new key features that I personally, as the way I mix is key, is the isolator. So this is a really cool feature because you've got nice, massive, fat pan pots here, just so you know that that is chained to the master. And this is complete kill as well. So if I start this track off and get a loop going, if I bring this in, and I'm just going to demonstrate the isolator for you. So that's complete kill. That's everything turned off. If I bring some of the frequencies back in, and again, this is chained to the master, so this will affect all 6 channels. I'm going to be using it as a live tool. For example, if I wanted to create a build-up, And at just the hit of a finger, you've turned the low end off all 6 channels. Now this is key because if you have other products, for example the AS1, or if you had a sequence sampler in there, you don't want to be doing the old school way of turning every single low end up when you're creating these huge reverberated build-ups. You can literally just turn your isolator on and turn it off. So that's another one of my cool features. The next one I'm going to be talking about is the headphone cue. So we know DJs these days are doing a lot of back-to-back mixing, especially if you're going to be looking at a mix like this. You've got independent controls on 2 different forms. So in that case, we really need 2 headphone cues, which is what we've added. So we've got headphone cues A over here, and we've got headphone cues B. Each of them have a different selection for each channel. So you can select exactly which channel you'd like to hear. If you've got your partner next to you and you want to cue within their music, but you're with a different pair of headphones, you can link to headphones A and you can be hearing what both DJs are using or both performers are using. Or if you're back-to-back DJs and you have 2 decks and 2 decks here, one person on one deck, one person on the other decks, you can independently listen to each other's music without having to switch headphones. It's a really, really key feature. So next up, I'm going to jump straight back to the channels here. And just above the EQ, we have a compressor on each channel. So this is the first time this has been done before. So the compression will reduce the dynamic range and allow us to perceive the sound as louder without affecting your gains, similar to what a compressor does. So the compressor is acting like a threshold, and then your trim is now going to act like a gain. Now this is great when you're using, for example, production equipment, or if you're playing off vinyl, the old school vinyl way. Every song is mastered differently, and this will just bump that quality up to that digital sound that you're hearing from the decks here. Now I'm going to demonstrate this by using the AS1. And for those of you who are wondering how is the AS1 in the mix, I've actually sent MIDI clock out of the V10 into the AS1, which is then linked with my CDJs. So the AS1 is taking the BPM from my CDJs. So I'm now going to demonstrate the power of this compressor. If I turn on my synth and I just bring just a random patch in, now that is a completely dry signal. I'm now going to gradually bring the compressor up. So the compressor is definitely one of my key features. If you've got multiple audio sources, it's great to get that level correct and get the quality of audio exact same as the other sources. So moving over to the effects section here, onboard effects section. For those of you who've worked on our previous mixers, the 900 Nexus 2, the 900 Nexus Mark 1, and the 750 Mark 2, you'll know that in the effects section, we have the channel select as well. We've decided to change this around. So you actually channel select on the B effects assign here, and you can select whichever channel you'd like to affect. So for example, if I'd like to add a delay to my AS1, or we can also select the effects to completely go on the master. So the effects can go across all 6 channels on the master. So the second to last thing I want to show you is the new booth EQ. So I know a lot of DJs have been asking for this for a long time. If you're playing in clubs, depending on what kind of sound engineer you have and what kind of day he's having, your booth monitor tends to be really sharp within the booth, you know, and you tend to be looking at the sound engineer asking for more low end, more high end, etc, etc. Now what we've added is a 2-band EQ on the booth, so that is allowing you to really manipulate the sound that you're hearing right next to your ears, and a nice volume control here. So the last thing I want to mention to you guys is the sound quality of the V10. So this is 96 kilohertz 64-bit mixing, so it's one of the highest sound quality mixers out there, and this is why we encourage people to use this not just as a DJ mixer, but also a live production mixer, a mixer within the studio. It's multifunctional. The AD and DA converters are also 32-bit, so the speed that this information is getting passed through the V10 is very, very quick. So in conclusion, for me, this has definitely changed the way I like to mix and I like to blend music together. With independent controls per sound, it really is pushing the boundaries of DJing and live production. So for any more information on this or any other Pioneer DJ product, head to the Gear for Music website.